You're listening to Captain John Doe, real aviation stories told anonymously. Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Captain John Doe podcast. I'm Mindy.
And your favorite host here, Kevin.
Yeah, well, we did meet a lot of you in person recently, and sure enough, that is exactly how you all greeted Kevin.
You know, I've been going to air shows with you now for a decade, and nobody ever comes up to me.
That's not true at all.
Hold on, let me finish my sentence. And comes up to me to talk about something that I've been a part of. Normally, they come up and they talk to me basically to get through you, which I am used to. But this time, I had a lot of you guys come up and say, how's my favorite host doing?
I just love that everyone is in on the joke because we all know that that's not true.
Not only that, by the way, we're talking about our time at Sun and Fun.
Right.
I had a couple people come up and tell me they asked some of the manufacturers about some whispering gophers.
Whistling
gophers.
I know, you keep leading me down the path of whispering.
Whistling.
And you threw me off the last time we talked about it, but it is a whistling gopher. Yeah. See?
You know, the best part about that is obviously hearing you guys come up and tell us doing it in person, but my parents came up for Wednesday, the night air show, and my dad is an avid listener of the show, so he made it a point to do that in the Cirrus booth and the Textron booth, and he got away with it a couple times.
Not really. One time, every
One
salesperson knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, they like beat him to it. They did the whistling thing. They're like, the next follow-up is if I win the lottery, right?
Yeah, see, if you're an aircraft salesman or saleswoman, you've been working a booth at any aviation expo, you know the whistling gophers. And it was so funny. I think quite a few people said that they asked for me at Textron, which makes my heart so happy.
That probably is the best thing because, one, you are still very close with everyone at Textron.
Yeah.
And two, that made their day. It made all your friends' day because they are just annoyed you still keep coming back.
I know. I just know my friends there. And if someone were to ask them, hey, is Mindy here? I could just see their eye roll.
Giant eye rolls.
The eyes rolling to the back of their head, which gives me great joy.
Great satisfaction.
You know something else? A Captain John Doe listener messaged me and gave me a really great name for our listener group. He suggested that we call our listeners Doe Heads.
I love it.
I instantly loved it. I think that's hilarious.
So are we going to do that?
Yeah, why not? Let's give it a go. So for the first time, what's up, Doe Heads? It sounds like almost an insult.
It is not an insult.
No, I just think it sounds like a 4-year-old being like doo-doo head. Like
what you've taught your nieces to call me. Poopy pants.
Silly Uncle Kevin.
Silly Uncle Kevin. All right, Doe Heads. Well, we loved meeting everyone who we had a chance to. Sun and Fun is chaotic, just like Oshkosh. So if you got to see us, that's great. Mindy does not really do meet and greets, which makes it harder sometimes for some of you guys to see us. But I think us meandering around everywhere was great, and it helps us enjoy the show. But you had a lot of stuff that you were doing.
Yeah, the show was chaotic for me because I was combining my sales work for Lone Mountain and the obligations I have in that role and my social media schmindy self and sponsorships and stuff like that and family time and friend time. So that was a lot of worlds colliding over the course of 4 very long days. We were pulling like literally 14-hour days at Sun and Fun. We would show up around 9 and get back to the house at midnight, 1 a.m.
I really feel like, though, as an overall trip, we accomplished so much because one, you got a lot of business stuff taken care of. Two, the brand obviously was really nice to get out there. We got to nerd out and actually enjoy the show, and we got to see our family, both
Yes.
sides of our family, which
Yes.
is very unique. Neither of our family members, anyone, is in aviation. There's not one person. So getting them to come out to Sun and Fun is always a real treat to let them in on our world. And my family came, your family came. You know, we had a whole party.
It was awesome. One thing that I want to go over a little bit more in depth that I did at Sun and Fun was a panel that I hosted for Lone Mountain. It was an exploring turbine ownership panel, which was basically bringing a team of experts on a panel. I was the MC / host, and guided this discussion through how you make the jump from piston ownership to jet ownership. And it was such a thoughtful discussion. We videoed it. So I am not in charge of that for Lone Mountain, but hopefully they turn it into a video that we can share. And if that comes out, I'll be sure to let you guys know here on the podcast, just because it's some interesting conversations. So I'll give you the highlights, and you, Kevin, you can participate as you wish, asking questions.
I will, because I actually didn't get to attend it because my family was rolling up just as you were doing that, and I had to get them at the gate.
Right. Well, basically, I had a team of 4 panelists that were on this discussion. 2 were Lone Mountain salespeople who are jet type rated, very experienced jet pilots and jet sales guys. We had a director of sales from an insurance company, the one that we even use for our own plane. And then we had a customer, a client of ours at Lone Mountain that has gone through this incredible journey of starting off by buying a Cirrus SR-22, and now he's in a Praetor.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Wait, no, I just lied. I just outright lied. He's in a Phenom,
Oh,
a different P plane. He went from an SR-22T to a TBM to CJ3 Plus, Vision Jet type rating, Phenoms. I think he's now getting into a Gulfstream. He's done all of this.
and he flies all these,
Yes,
right?
he flies them all, is type rated in all of them, bought them all. Lots of buying and selling. So his sales guy at Lone Mountain is very happy with him as a client. Wish he was mine. And he did all that within 2 years of piston to all these jets.
That's
He's
crazy.
flown through ownership.
We always make comments like that if we have the means. What would we do? And it's probably what this guy would do.
So the first part of the discussion we went over was the very first bullet point that someone's going to talk to us about when they want to buy a jet is their mission. We always want to start with their mission. And there's so many different types of turbine, from turboprops to jets, to consider. So we as salespeople and guiding our clients want to make sure that you're on the right track. And why do people normally call us and say they're ready for a jet? Well, because they're getting weathered out a lot, because they want to fly farther, they want to fly faster, they want to carry more people, they want to get home quicker. There's so many key moments in ownership when you realize you've outgrown your
So you
airplane.
gave me a question immediately. Sorry. So this topic, and I know we talked about the other guy was an owner operator, but this is pretty much strictly to owner operators that are actually flying. Is that what this is tailored to?
Yes, it's tailored to people who want to fly and own their own plane.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes. So then we moved through some of the discussions we have around mission profile and why some planes might be better fits than others. And then we talked about ownership. Can you actually fly this plane? What are the real costs involved? What are maintenance programs? Do you need to buy a plane that's on one? So we went through a lot of ownership about if you're ready to fly single pilot, how do you know that? How is the workload different from a Cirrus SR-22 to a CJ3 Plus? When we asked our client that, how did you know you were ready to fly single pilot? And he said, you just got to, he said, don't be overconfident. You need to always fly with a mentor pilot he usually said that he flew with a mentor pilot for 50 plus hours in each type. And he's like, but I also still contract pilots. He says that he flies single pilot, but when his wife's on board, she wants two pilots. That's a thing that she's more comfy with. So he's always flying with other pilots and constantly learning. And he made that a very key point, to always be constantly learning, have some mentor pilots in your pocket that you can call and text saying like, hey, this is some weather I've never encountered yet. What do you think about this flight plan or anything like that? You got to have some go-to people as resources, even as you're a single pilot, because as you get licenses, what do we say? It's a license to learn. Even with type ratings, it's a license to learn, right?
I love that he is that aware.
Very
right?
aware.
I think that's the biggest takeaway from my end, and for a lot of our listeners too. Like, we don't even have to be talking about jets, but if you're in this world, being aware that even Maverick needs a mentor.
Yeah.
Like, I use that example a lot, but like, I know it's a stretch, but it still weighs true.
Stay humble. Then we talked about maintenance programs, because that's a huge thing that's different on turbines, which is the maintenance. You went from pistons of just annuals and oil changes to now phase inspections, annuals, parts programs, engine programs. So what is that? The maintenance programs on jets is essentially an escrow that you pay into, that's funding that you pay into per hour that goes towards these different things on your plane. There's most notably, there's maintenance programs on engines, the jet engines that would cover everything, but also parts. And then Cirrus has their own branded one that covers all of it, called Jetstream, which makes turbine ownership incredibly easy, especially for someone's first time, because basically a SF-50 Vision Jet pilot that buys the plane and you paid for Jetstream, this maintenance program, your outside cost is just consumables and insurance hanger. So just fuel, insurance hanger, like annuals covered, XM covered, Garmin databases covered, wear and tear on your wires and brakes covered.
Is that on every Vision Jet that you buy new?
Yeah, all
Really?
Vision Jets have it. There's very, very few Vision Jets that are not enrolled on the program. And the only reason that they are probably not is because they were operated in a charter department that had their own internal maintenance plan.
Got it.
But it's incredibly rare to find a Vision Jet without it.
This is like an interesting world because I know nothing about it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well, that's why we did this discussion, because it kind of scratched the surface on all these topics. The whole thing was only an hour, so we didn't go super in depth on anything, but I think it showed people at least all the factors to consider and maybe spark some interest on things they hadn't thought about yet, or maybe we showed that it's maybe more accessible than you thought.
What do they say? Knowledge is power, right?
Knowledge is power. Then we spoke about training. You know, what's a type rating? Well, a type rating is when you want to be PIC of a plane that's over 12,500 pounds max takeoff weight, or it's got a turbojet powered engine, or the FAA just said you have to.
Or
right.
You're flying a DC-3.
So type school is different, right? It's all pilots are used to check rides, but now we're at type school. It's big and scary. And for a lot of owner flown planes, it is big and scary, because who's your classmates? Professional pilots. And who are you? I don't know. Maybe you own a roofing company and you're like, whoa, I don't fit in here. But guess what? You can do it. They spoon feed you, especially on the smaller jets. They know that there's a lot of owner flown jets. So we went through the fears and hesitations around type school, some tips and tricks. And basically you just got to go in there and trust your instructors, because they know what they're doing and they teach you to be successful at your check ride. How is type school different? Well, you can get your type rating either in aircraft or in a full motion simulator. And that's when things get very different from piston to jet, because your first time in a full motion sim it's a lot. They call it like the hot box of death. Like, and my God, is the weather always bad in your sim? It's always low IFR in Memphis, Tennessee at Flight Safety Tampa.
and somehow the airplane does not work.
So as you are thinking about going to type school soon, Mr. Kev, favorite host of Captain John Doe,
I hope so.
do you have any fears about type school or any questions you want to ask me about it?
I mean, I definitely have fears because it's an unknown, right? Just
Yep.
like anything else. Fortunately, I have a lot of sim time.
It's
but
not the same.
Not a full motion. So like a lot of things that let me backtrack a little bit. I'm not trying to get super nervous before the time, but like getting a headache in the simulator. Like, is that a thing? I feel like that would be a thing. I mean,
Honestly, I think that a lot of people, including myself, get a sharp headache afterwards. When you're in the sim, you are so in the moment, you don't feel feelings. You are taking off, losing an engine, it's on fire, I'm going around, going miss, low IFR, go second go around, restart, gear doesn't go down, flaps aren't working. It's the kitchen sink is thrown at you. You have no time to think that you have a headache. Once you come out, you're like, wow, I feel like shit.
I guess the other thing too is like not to get too in depth of like there's no depth perception in the Sims. Like, how are your landings? Like,
They're usually trash, but you figure it out.
They're usually trash.
Yeah, you figure out the sim feeling, and you do figure out what is closest to a depth perception.
I kind of understand what you mean because like in our sim, I figured it out, but like I always land long.
But here's what you're not considering is that in Jet World, you fly the plane onto the runway. We're not floating and flaring in a 172. So you're following your avionics to 200 feet, following an ILS because it's low IFR every single time you fly the sim.
Sure.
And then you just drive it into the ground, just like a jet.
And you
like
take the nose up.
Hardly. Yeah, you come down, you do a very short level off and kind of make the tires hit the ground. It's not a finesse flare. And they're not grading you on the loveliness of your landing, but you do have to land on center line and where you're supposed to at the touchdown zone,
Yeah.
And it's not that hard to figure out. Your first time or two, you might be a little shaky on that, but you'll figure it out.
It's just it's a crazy concept that you go into the simulator, do all your training, and then your first time ever. Well, for me, I guess for an owner it would be a little different, but like the same concept. You're flying your family or yourself for the first time ever in the jet. Like, how big of a difference was that for you?
Well, you know what we joke about with type school, the one thing that they don't teach you.
What?
The one thing that they don't teach you at simulator type school is how to open the freaking cabin door because you're not at the real plane. You have no idea. You walk up to the jet on the ramp for the first time and you literally have no idea how to open the freaking door. Yet you know how to fly that plane.
I hope that I get taught stuff like that.
Oh, I think in the airlines you don't have to open the door.
That's a good point, but wouldn't they need to know? Wouldn't I need to know? In case?
Yeah, you're going to go through your emergency training.
Yeah. There's so many other questions, but I don't want to drive this show off me. So,
well, I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of questions going in your first type school as many others. I'll leave you guys with this if you're going to your first type school or curious about what my number one tip is to take the most detailed, organized notes that you have ever taken.
You're saying that directly at me.
Yeah, and everyone else. And I have these wonderful, detailed, organized notes for both my types that I did. So I've been to sim school on the Cessna M2, the CJ3 Plus, and the Citation Longitude C700. And I have these notes for each. And they're so good that I get people that reach out to me and email me asking me for my notes, which I hate giving out because I'm a firm believer that you must take your own notes because reading someone else's notes don't have the same effect as making your own. Mm-hmm. But here's why it's important. I think, at least my learning style, writing something down really helps me learn it because I have a bit of a photographic memory. So But especially
Small flex.
especially photographic when it's my own notes or something that I created. I can see a page in my head, but it gets a little blurry when we're going through a textbook within 1 week at type school. But on my notes that I created, I can remember that especially well. But then at the end, when you're prepping for check ride, you have this badass study guide, which me and all my classmates would use to quiz each other. Guess what? Now there's AI at Longitude Type School. I fed my notes to Chat GPT and said, quiz me. And I sat there for hours and it pulled from my own notes asking me questions and it would know if the answer was right or wrong.
I know. I remember I went and visited you like one day at flight safety and I was like, what are you doing? And you're like, Chat's quizzing me.
Yep.
Like, how did you do that?
Yes. And then the coolest part about all of this is not even about initial type school. It's recurrent. So pilots stress about going to recurrent. For most professional pilots in Part 91, you're going every year. But in the airlines, are you going
6
every
months.
6 months?
I believe.
If you have this badass study guide from the first time you learn it all you do is a day or two before you go to recurrent, reread your own notes and you're right back in the seat, baby. It makes it so much easier than digging back into the textbook and being like, man, what was important about this topic? I wish I wrote that down. All you have to do is review your own notes. It's like magic. Just saying.
You got me jazzed up. I hope I get to go to type school this year.
I hope you do too, and I'm sure you will. Then we talk about insurance and what that looks like. Anyways, I won't get in too much deeper, but if you guys want to know more, let me know. We could talk about this for hours.
I know. We're driving on the Sun and Fun train. I think the other thing that was exceptional about our trip was that night show.
The night show was great. They had a laser drone fireball show. And I've never seen so much fire.
Fireball is an understatement. It was constant fireballs. Boom, 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 boom.
Fantastic.
Anyways, we're looking at the calendar, and in a couple days from now, it's World Pilots Day. So,
what's up? Happy World Pilots Day.
I was looking up that. It said it's for all the safe pilots out there.
Not for the unsafe pilots. The unsafe pilots.
It says for the safe pilots.
We don't celebrate unsafe pilots. Well, quick housekeeping, and we're going to get into some really freaking awesome stories today. I think you guys are going to love today's episode. If you want to be a part of our show, you could submit any aviation story to CaptainJohnDoe.com. It's fully anonymous, which is why we get the best stories in the entire industry right here on our show, guys.
Right from you dough heads.
Right from the dough heads. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe, leave a review and a rating. And speaking of reviews, Kevin, hit him with it.
Harry, the rusty pilot, gave us a 5-star review. First of all, I really dig your YouTube channel, and the idea of the Captain John Doe podcast is great because there's so many people like myself. They're afraid to say things, and this gives them a platform to reflect, which only helps others in the long run. Man, I hope the two of you get along off camera just like you do on camera. I hate to think that you're one of those celebrity type couples or duos that hates each other's guts off camera and then they put on the facade for the rest of the world when they get on camera. Godspeed, Harry, the rusty pilot.
Well, Harry, I'm happy to report that we do get along. I would never be able to do this with someone I did not get along with, and I am too busy and too tired to be faking anything.
Yeah, I think people who know us know that what you're hearing is exactly what you'll get in real life. There's no difference.
Yeah.
Mindy is my best friend for sure.
Sometimes we're arguing in the car, and I literally look at Kevin and I say, man, I wish we were having this argument on the podcast because that's how transparent we are. And I love, I don't know, it's stupid aviation arguments that we get into about what airline is best or whatever. And we get into these bickering opinions about things. And I'm like, we should stop right now and save it for the podcast.
Well, thank you, Harry. As far as I'm concerned, Mindy and I aren't going anywhere in our relationship. Okay.
You got to stay on your toes.
Oh, brave. The best aviation podcast out there.
Wait,
5
who's this
stars.
from? I got to note it.
Foster.
What's up, Foster?
Foster.
I got it.
Mindy and Kevin, this is the best, most entertaining aviation podcast out there. Every other one I listen to are slow and boring. This is absolutely an upbeat, exciting show to listen to. It really feels like you're hanging out with friends. And as a CFI myself, it's very relatable.
Hey, thank you for that. I appreciate. That's what we want to be friends with the dough heads.
Yeah, we try to keep it fast paced. Every now and again, we get off on a tangent, but I think those tangents are things that we want to talk about, and it's our podcast.
Wow, you just got defensive against no one. You okay?
I am okay.
Well, sweet husband of mine, you messed up, and I'm happy to tell everyone. You noted on our podcast calendar that the merch drawing was episode 40, and we've been telling people that, and that's wrong.
What do you want me to do about it? We're going to tell you right now, episode 41 is our next merch drawing. Sorry, sue me.
It's the last Wednesday of every month. And on our podcast calendar, I told Kevin, can you go through and mark all the episode numbers that we're doing a giveaway on? And he marked 40.
Let me just make it crystal clear. Our dough heads know when you are either busy or sick, and I am responsible for the administrative duties of the podcast. Okay? They know. I try my best. My clerical work is not there. I am not classically trained in computers. I fly airplanes, I play golf, and I fish. Okay?
Okay. And we refuse to learn technology, don't we? Anyway, it's the last Wednesday of every month, which is next episode number 41. But guess what? Our bad news is your good news. The good news is you have a whole nother week to enter the drawing.
Wow. Look at that pivot.
I'm a saleswoman.
You're a pro.
Through and through. If you didn't know, we're doing a monthly merch giveaway all year long in 2026. The winner is selected every fourth Wednesday of the month. Listen up over there, Kevin.
That's the next one, right?
You could enter for free by following us on Instagram, engaging with our monthly giveaway post, or you can leave us a podcast review. Send us a DM after you complete it, and that's an extra entry, so you can be entered into it twice. If you go on Apple Podcasts, that's the way to submit these reviews that we're reading on the show as well. You get a little shout out, and you're entered for the merch drawing. Open U.S. residents 18 and older. The full rules are linked on our Instagram bio and on our website, CaptainJohnDoe.com. Okay. Oh, wait. Sorry. www.CaptainJohnDoe.com.
http:// www.
That's incorrect, but
okay.
The www is for Kevin. 'Cause he always says www.
Why don't we get to some story times? So why don't you lead us off, Shaman?
Okay, I'm reading this story because it had a question/comment about ATC clearances. And Kevin, favorite podcast host of Captain John Doe podcast, as you guys may or may not know, is an ex-air traffic controller.
Retired.
Not retired. You're not. If you were retired, we'd have a lot better benefits right now. Are you going to say anything?
Nope. Silence is deadly.
No comeback. Okay. But anyways, it talks about ATC stuff. So I was curious to hear Mr. Kevin's response to this.
Sure.
I found this on a Facebook page, the Cirrus Owner and Pilot Association, COPA. Someone posted this, and there was a lot of comments back on it too, which we'll get to, but let me hit you with it. Lesson learned, ATC clearances aren't all safe. Yeah, I know, we've all heard that before, but yesterday it reared its ugly head at PSP.
That's Palm Springs.
How did I know you were going to define it? I literally left you a blank space in my head for you to say it. Anywho, as you may know, about a year ago, a brand new SR-22T was blown off the runway 31 right at PSP by a Southwest 737 on the adjacent runway 31 left. The plane is still being repaired and the bill is over $1 million. Thankfully, there were no injuries. Yesterday, on my approach to PSP 31 left in my Cirrus SR-22, a Southwest 737 was cleared onto the runway right in front of me. Had I continued, I would have landed less than 1 minute after his takeoff. Let's be clear, this was an unsafe clearance. Instead, I requested a left 180 to start the approach again due to potential wake turbulence. The PSP tower simply said unable left 180. I asked what they wanted me to do instead because I wasn't landing. They said change to runway 31 right, clear to land. Let's be clear, this was also an unsafe clearance as demonstrated a year ago, but it's one that many pilots would have accepted. I said unable. Finally, they cleared me to fly the pattern back to 31 right and I landed uneventfully. They even seemed to hold another Southwest 737 on 31 left while I did my final approach. Why do I post this? Maybe it will help someone else realize that while ATC gives awesome service 99.9% of the time, a huge thank you, you can never assume they know and follow everything needed to keep you safe. Always be ready and just say no.
All right. Well, I guess I'll start the conversation with number one. You can always say unable. Anytime I was doing these briefings with other pilots, the very first thing I said is if you say unable, you need to immediately come back with a reason
Resolution
or a solution to the problem. Because based off this scenario, you were an arrival, the Southwest was a departure. Per the regs, there are no wake turbulence separation in this world because they're two separate segments of flight. So this pilot referenced 1 minute. For those in the know, if you're departing behind a large aircraft, which a 737 is, you need 2 minutes of holdover in a small aircraft, or you can waive the wake turbulence.
if you're taking off after a takeoff.
So a takeoff and takeoff, but a takeoff and an arrival don't necessarily pose the same problem. So what the controller must have said is caution wake turbulence. But what this guy did is, think ahead. Okay, this is really close, so I'm not going to do it. But just saying unable typically is not going to jog the controller's brain into another resolution immediately. There can be a lot of reasons you say unable, which 100% say it, but unable due to the wake turbulence. And they might say, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah, well, it sounds like he provided them with that exact information. He said unable due to wake turbulence, would like to do a left 180.
Yeah.
And they said unable.
Yeah, well, that's always going to happen. And that's the next thing I always tell pilots is you need to be prepared for the controller now to come up with another plan that you might not like. And in this instance, it wasn't like they didn't like it. He wanted to do a 180, no big deal. And they offered him 3-1 right, which we've been to Palm Springs. They're pretty much right next to each other. So I understand the concern.
That didn't fix anything.
Didn't fix anything. So joining the pattern definitely is the smartest thing. But this is not something that controllers are going to be thinking about. I could promise you. Because an arrival and a departure are treated separately.
So he outlined this, that ATC gave him an unsafe clearance. Do you agree with that?
No.
Me neither.
No, it's not an unsafe clearance. Like, how would you say it's unsafe if that's not the rule? Obviously it could potentially be unsafe. And as the pilot are the one that determines that.
Right. And to his point, though, of the post, I believe, is to encourage pilots to not take any clearance without considering if it's safe for you, right? Because just because it's in their legal parameters and maybe something that they do every single day without anyone complaining, you can always determine that it's not safe for you and encourage others to speak up how he did, right?
Yeah, I had a scenario yesterday that I think a lot of people who are unfamiliar with flying into busy Bravo airspaces might get. So ATC descended me to 6,500 and they climbed a jet to 6,000 feet and we're merging. We only had 500 feet of separation when our wingtips cross paths. And a lot of people might think that's unsafe, but it's completely legal and it's controlled. And the only reason I felt comfortable with it is because of my prior experience of being a controller and knowing that you only need 500 feet of separation in a Bravo if it's a VFR aircraft to an IFR. So like sometimes experience helps. For me, if I'm landing behind a 737 taking off, I've never had that before. So I might be a little bit nervous, you know, like what this guy did is 100% perfect. Saying it's an unsafe clearance is not fair.
Yeah.
If we're following the rules.
Okay, you just summed up my thoughts about this completely. Was I support exactly what he did and how he did it, but I don't know that I would have headlined it as unsafe clearance from ATC.
Right. Now, there's a lot of unsafe clearances that can happen. Controllers are human and not perfect, and that's another argument. But
yeah, always question your clearances.
I basically I always follow ATC's instruction, but like I take a second to process the information before I turn the dial.
Well, like you said, they're human too. They can make mistakes. They're usually superhuman. Yeah. But every once in a while, they're just regular humans.
The biggest scenario we get, on our day to day is we have a lot of mountains out here. And when we come into Henderson in the Delta, the tower tells us to turn into the mountains. And they're not trying to make us turn into the mountains, but like they can't see our perspective. And I say unable at least a couple times a week.
Right. Because there is not proper clearance to do the 360s they ask of us sometimes in our Delta. But also, we're in an extremely turbulent part of the country. And if you get a strong downdraft of turbulence right there, there is no recovery room.
Yeah.
So I'll just read a couple of these comments real quick. Someone said, genuine question, and honestly not trying to argue with you. Each pilot has the right to set and enforce their own personal minimums. But did you consider making a short field approach in landing in which you would have been down and stopped long before the jet's rotation point? Which is a good point, because if you learn about wake turbulence in Private Pilot 101, it's from the rotation point is when the vortices start, right?
Right.
So theoretically, if you land and stop prior to the 737's rotation point, you shouldn't encounter vortices unless there's wind, breeze.
Right. I
whatever.
think that the reason I didn't bring that up is I get the hesitation.
Well, I think that that's a reasonable point. However, the comment underneath that, which is true because we've been there, not possible at PSP. For some reason, we have a long displaced threshold that pushes landing near the rotation point. So when I take off, I'm in the air well before the displaced threshold ends.
That's a great point. Didn't think about that.
Right, because there is a huge...
they're landing right where the most significant amount of wake that plane's going to generate the entire flight is.
Yeah, so the takeoff of the 737 can start at the edge of the runway, but landing traffic has to go beyond the threshold point.
So for those who are not pilots that are confused, runways have start points, right? But some runways have, let's say, 1,000 feet that might be made out of different material, or maybe there's an obstacle that causes the aircraft not to be able to land in that area. There's a bunch of different reasons. So at Palm Springs, what they're saying is that you cannot land until, let's say, 1,000 feet down the runway, but you can take off in that beginning part. And the jets will be airborne by the time you're going to be touching down, which is going to cause those big old engines to move a lot of air, and a Cirrus is a really small airplane. That's a good point.
Yeah, it brings up an interesting conversation. I think that the landing probably would have been fine. However,
yeah,
stick to your gut feeling. If you have a gut feeling that you shouldn't do it, don't.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to bash them because
Yeah,
I am
no.
huge on taking action.
Yeah, no,
The
I'm not at all.
Only critique here is it's not an unsafe clearance, no matter what.
Yes.
At the same time, air traffic control can never force you to land. Remember that. You know, I try to teach that to my students day one because you can be really quick on trying to listen to air traffic. They do that a lot at our tower where we're still in the flare and they're giving us taxi instructions. And I've done a really good job, I think, of teaching my young bucks to ignore them until the damn airplane is all on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, it's your butt in the seat. So if you think that it's something that's not right, don't do it. Question it. Stay unable. I really like this post of the encouragement to speak up for yourself, because especially to young pilots, private pilot Mindy would have no idea that she could unable ATC.
Right.
Unless it was an emergency. And to that point, private pilot Mindy would probably assume that if I unabled a clearance or a direction, that I would immediately have to file emergency paperwork and they're going to declare an emergency for me and all these crazy things. And it's not
unable
true.
is not like a negative thing.
No.
Like
it's just
I was
it's
sitting
a
in
conversation.
a dark room in the middle of nowhere. I have no idea what you guys are doing out there. And all controllers know that, you know, don't get wrapped up in the tone. Don't get wrapped up in the busyness. Like, fly your airplane and do what's needed, period.
Well, let's move on to something lighter. I only skimmed the very beginning, which said it was a funny story, and the end, which had a lot of F-bombs.
Okay.
So I'm
Am I allowed
excited.
to say the F-bombs?
You should just say effing.
Okay.
Because I'm learning that more kids are kind of listening in.
Yeah. All
And
right.
like,
So
the
this
end
is,
of it was a bit aggressive.
this is a listener submitted story. Love the podcast and listen to it every Wednesday. This is not my story, but a friend sent this to me, and it was too funny not to share. Plus, there hasn't been a good poop story in a while.
Oh, God. Okay,
point.
I did not read that line yet.
Good
Here we
point.
go.
Just over halfway through the flight, all the coffee in my stomach feels like it's percolating its way down into my lower intestine. I hunker down and try and focus on other things.
Doesn't work.
What feels like an hour, but probably isn't more than 20 minutes passes. We then enter what turns out to be pretty violent turbulence. With each bounce, I have to fight my body, trying not to poop my pants. 30 minutes to landing, maybe 45. I try and tell myself, each jostled a gamble I can't afford to lose. I signal to the flight attendant and she heads towards me. Excuse me, where's the bathroom? Because I don't see a door. I ask while still devoting considerable energy to fighting off what starts to feel like someone shook a seltzer bottle and shoved it up my butt.
Just say it.
Shoved it up my ass. She looks at me, bemused, I've never seen that word, and says, well, we don't really have one per se. She continues, technically, we have one, but it's really just for emergencies. Don't worry, we're landing shortly anyways. I'm pretty sure this qualifies as an emergency. I managed to mutter through my grimace. I can see the fear in her face as she points nervously to the back seat. The turbulence outside is matched only by the cyclone that is ravaging my bowels. She points to the back of the plane and says, there. The toilet is there. For a brief instant, relief passes over my face. She continues, if you pull away the leather cushion from that seat, it's under there. There's a small privacy screen that pulls up around it, but that's it. At this point, I was committed. She had just lit the dynamite, and the mine shaft was set to blow. I turn to look where she's pointing, and I get the urge to cry. I do cry, but my face is so tightly clenched it makes no difference. The toilet seat is occupied by the CFO, our client.
Our effing client.
Our effing client. Our effing female effing client. Up to this point, nobody has observed my struggle or my exchange with the flight attendant. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That's all I can say as I limp towards her like Quasimodo impersonating a penguin and begin my explanation. Of course, as soon as my competitors see me talking to the CFO, they all perk up to find out what the hell I'm doing. Given my jovial nature and fun-loving attitude thus far on the road show, almost everybody thinks I'm joking. She, however, knew right away that I am anything but and jumps up, moving quickly to where I've been sitting. I now how to remove the seat top. No easy task when you can barely stand upright. And getting tossed around like a hood rat at a block party and fighting against the gastrointestinal Mount Vesuvius.
This is a lot of big words for you.
Gastrointestinal Mount Vesuvius. I'm just like vividly picturing Mount Vesuvius and what he's talking about right now.
I could see the sweat beads off this poor guy's face.
I managed to peel back the leather seat top to find a rather luxurious looking commode with a nice cherry or walnut frame. It had obviously never been used. Ever. Why this moment of clarity came to me, I do not know. Perhaps it was a realization that I was going to take this toilet's virginity with a fury and savagery that was an abomination to its delicate craftsmanship and quality.
I love that he's appreciating the toilet right now.
I imagine some poor Italian carpenter weeping over the violently soiled remains of his once beautiful creation. The laminate lasted only a second as I was quickly back to concentrating on the tiny muscles that stood between me and the molten hot lava. I reached down and pulled up the privacy screens with only seconds to spare before I erupt. It's an Alka-Seltzer bomb. Nothing but air and liquid spraying out in all directions. A Jackson Pollock masterpiece. No. The pressure is now reversed. I feel like I'm going to have a stroke. I push so hard to end the relief. The tormented, sublime relief. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. My apologies do nothing to drown out the heinous noises that seem to carry on and reverberate throughout the small cabin indefinitely. If that's not bad enough, I had one more major problem. The privacy screen stops right around the shoulder level. I'm sitting there, a disembodied head in the back of the plane on a bucking bronco for a toilet, all while looking at my colleagues, competitors, and clients directly in the eyes.
No.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain, briefly comes to mind. I literally could reach out with my left hand and rest it on the shoulder of the person adjacent to me. It was virtually impossible for him or of any of the others, and by others, I mean high-profile business partners and clients, to avert their eyes. They squirm, try not to look, inclined to do their best to carry on and pretend as if nothing out of the ordinary was happening. That they weren't sharing a stall with some guy crapping his intestines out, releasing smelly, sweaty shame at 100 feet per second. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry, is all the ashamed, disembodied head can say over and over again. Not that it mattered. My big takeaway from all this, the person who designed the privacy screen on a tiny airplane toilet that leaves your whole head exposed should be shot with poop bullets, because that's such a profoundly terrible, terrible idea. Seriously, whose idea was that? Did they contract it out to an alien who'd only read a pamphlet about human evacuation customs, and even then, just skimmed it?
That's freaking hilarious. My eyes are wet. I am crying. This is so funny because he's not wrong. In the caravan, they might have been in a caravan.
I mean, it could have been a CJ3 as well.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, there's no door on the CJ3.
Anyway, they're on a small plane. I remember the privacy screen on the caravan. I don't remember it on the CJ3. I've never pulled it open. But on the caravan, when I was selling it, we would like show people it. So I do remember there's no privacy. The privacy screen is no privacy.
Can you explain what this toilet is, though, to people?
It's a porta potty.
I think he did an exact exceptional job of painting the Jackson Pollock picture. But like, when Mindy says it's a porta potty, at least a porta potty has like
A deep hole.
Yeah, there's no hole. It's like a hospital pan.
Yeah, it's like a bedpan. That's exactly right.
So the splatters
Yeah.
he's talking about at 100 feet per second
Are coming back at you.
right back at them.
Yeah.
Going right back in their home.
It's so bad. And so here's a lot of design issues that just came to light with this story. Even the flight attendant says, oh, that's really just for emergencies. So shouldn't we be designing this little make a toilet in the back for emergencies? To his point, there's no privacy screen. If you are using a toilet in a small plane and it's an emergency, it's going to be violent. Like what he experienced.
He was a bucking bronco on the commode.
And so instead they give a half a curtain, which is not nice at all, and a shallow pan that's spraying back at you. Freaking terrible. But it's so hilarious that the person that they're trying to like corner on this business trip is the lady. Of course, a lady. Every time we hear a poop story, there's a woman, a pretty woman or high profile woman that's around the bathroom.
Why does this story sound familiar?
Do you know it?
I think this is someone we know.
Shut up.
Why does this sound familiar? Whoever you are,
Show yourself.
message us. Because I feel like I know this.
Well, they said it's a friend's story.
I know.
Oh, I don't find this as something that I've ever heard before. This is freaking hilarious.
Because this writing is amazing, by the way. Whoever you are that submitted this, excellent job of storytelling. But like,
Write a book.
I am positive this is a real story because as I'm reading it, I feel like I even might know who it is, but I'm not going to say. But this is amazing. This is amazing.
I don't know. This doesn't sound familiar to me, but this is freaking hilarious. Imagine, first of all, do you think that they heard? Is the airplane loud enough, do you think, where they didn't hear?
In the back of the plane? Yeah, it is not that loud.
Maybe if it was a caravan, it would be too
I don't
loud.
think it was a caravan. I think it was a CJ3.
If it's in a jet,
They heard
then
everything.
they might have heard.
They heard his grunts. They heard the splatter hitting the pan and bouncing back into his butt.
Because the Alka-Seltzer makes me think it was a loud experience.
Also, what was his facial expression when he saw the CFO? Because he said she immediately got up with no hesitation.
When he's sitting there and the curtain is showing his face and people are looking at him, what do you think? Like, you can never unsee the face of your coworker that's taking a shit in front of you.
No.
You can't unsee that. He's going to have to quit, leave his job, and leave the industry and change his name.
His competitors sound like run the plane as well.
Yeah. And well, his competitors probably won their business that they were going after.
That or the CFO said, you have a lot of balls doing that. And that's what we
I don't know that he had a choice. I don't think it's respectable because there was no choice. You know what I'm saying? How do you, like, I wouldn't give mad props to him because I want to be like, oh yeah, like you.
We've brought this topic up because of all the poop stories you doughheads seem to submit. But one more time, has there ever been a point where you were not on a commercial plane, where you had an emergency like this, or you had to go? There was nothing you could do about it.
No, but I think a lot of that has to do with my schedule flexibility from a lot of the professional flying I did. When I'm selling airplanes, I'm kind of on my own time. So if my tummy doesn't feel right, I can sit in the FBO for another 2 hours if I freaking feel like it. Yeah. I don't have to, I'm not flying an airline schedule. You are the one that needs to be nervous.
What am I nervous about? There's a bathroom on the plane.
Yes, but we hear all these stories about them using the lab and total embarrassment.
Well, the problem is, like, right now with the Cirrus or Skyhawk, obviously that's a non-negotiable option.
Yeah.
So I think the way I get around that is try to get whatever I'm putting my body in well in advance before I have to leave planet Earth.
Exactly. Well, at the beginning of this story, I thought it was a pilot writing in. And so I was like, how does he not know where the lab is? Like, he's first day, like truly first day, and didn't even get an aircraft tour. And then slowly realized that it was a
I had
passenger.
a flight attendant on this plane and it didn't have more than...
You just debunked the possible caravan. There's
Well,
a
I
flight
know, but
attendant.
like even then, like, I mean, we know our airplane stuff, and what airplane is big enough to have a flight attendant that doesn't have a door?
Was just about to say that, Kevin. You read my mind. In what world does a plane that's too small for an actual lab, but big enough to support a flight attendant?
There is not one. And I mean, I guess you can always have a flight attendant on board, but that seems...
The biggest scenario for that would be like the CJ3 plus CJ4. And that's not big enough for a flight
But
attendant.
I feel like the CJ4, it might not have a door, but it has like concaved like area, right?
I don't
can't
remember.
think.
I never go in the back. I flew a CJ4 this year, 10 hours. And I never went back there. I only
the
went...
CJ3 because, contrary to popular belief, Mindy and I don't really ride in the back of private jets, but I have. And I feel like the lav was like very visible to everyone on the CJ3. Maybe the Ford, not so much.
Yeah.
Anywho's, awesome freaking story. I mean, I was crying laughing. I hope I did a good job of dictating that.
I think it was a perfect story for you to read.
Thank you.
Because when the people on the internet, on social media, hear the sound bites of this, when I post it, people can hear when you rub the mic on your beard, just so you know. Have you been doing that this entire podcast?
I don't remember.
Because I'm just going to throw it out there. We will have to trash this entire episode.
No, that was the first time.
Are you lying to me? You're lying to me right now.
I'm not lying.
You can't rub the mic on your beard to
You know
itch
what?
it.
You know what just got into my brain?
Don't change the topic.
Is you remember when we did the P West story?
Yeah.
So the person who submitted that came up to me and said how much they loved the after effect of when I peed in the porta-john thing.
Yeah.
And I told him that my lovely wife was not letting me know that she kept recording that whole time. That was not a scripted thing. By the way, for all you guys listening, I didn't know I needed to say that, but
We have a bathroom right next to our podcast studio.
I didn't know that she was recording that whole time. So that was kind of funny.
Great topic change, but how long have you been itching the mic on your beard?
Just now. That was it. I promise.
I fear you're
I
lying.
just moved over here.
And now you have to edit this podcast episode. So listeners, so sorry if it's not edited correctly.
All right. Why don't you read our advice section?
We're actually out of time.
Oh.
I know. We're going to have to save it for next time.
Wow. That went by too quick.
I know.
You know what's different is we're lounging right now. So it's like I can just yap forever.
Yep. Itch the mic on your face to destroy our audio. Hang out. Have a grand old time.
What's for dinner?
Yeah. Anywho, we are actually out of time for today, but thank you, Doe Heads, for listening in as always. And we hope to catch up with you guys next week.
See you next week, and make sure you submit those reviews because that's a merch drawing.
Bye.
Thanks for flying with Captain John Doe. If you have a story to share, visit CaptainJohnDoe.com and stay anonymous. New episodes every Wednesday. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and tell your favorite crew members.